I think that one of the most interesting aspects of the response in Canada to this shooting that took place that led to the tragic death of Corporal Cirillo yesterday has been that of media coverage in Canada. Now, first and foremost, we have a picture up here of the headline in Canada and the headline here in the U.S. On CNN.com with regard to this shooting. And you will see no time to be afraid in Canada compared with, quote, terrified capital on CNN.com. And of course, these are just two data points, Lewis, but we've talked for years on this program about the impact of and the use of fear with regard to violence, with regard to gun ownership, with regard to passing things like the Patriot Act, NDAA, NSA surveillance. And here we have in stark contrast at the same time a Canadian headline saying no time to be afraid, and that fear element always there in American corporate media reporting, terrified capital. What did you think when you saw this?
I think it really highlights just how much we focus on just how much of a business the media really is here. And the focus is more on it being a business, and they're run more like a business than these media outlets that are supposed to responsibly inform us about what's happening in the country.
I have a couple of more clips to show you, and we'll talk about these. This is Rex Murphy from the CBC giving a commentary. Now, this is really important. This is a commentary, not a news report about the shooting. Let's listen, and then I'll give you my thoughts.
The saddest thing I saw today was the image of a woman, then police officers and medics desperately pumping the heart of the soldier in Ottawa as he lay dying. How long they strived, I cannot tell, but long it was, and enough to make all of us who are watching tremble and weep with sheer pity. To kill a soldier standing unarmed ceremonial guard at the tomb of the unknown soldier was a bottomless cowardice and a perversion. If the soul of Canada has an abiding place, it is here, in the great hallowed war memorial with the tomb in our capital city, a bugle call away from the chambers of our national deliberations. The murder of fine, fit, friendly, and unarmed Corporal Nathan Cirillo was not a thoughtless act. Instead, it was soaked in callousness and contempt. The slaughter was meant to burn beyond the deed itself, to speak fundamental insult to the very ideas of honor, sacrifice, and solidarity, which are our military's credo and our country's ideals.
Obviously, the entire feel and demeanor of this was completely different than what we're used to hearing on American corporate media. But this is the funny thing. Rex Murphy is considered a polarizing figure in Canada much of the time with regard to politics, considered by many to be a right-wing voice. The commentary of a so-called right-wing voice in Canada was so much more sober, reasonable, and fact-based than much of what passes as reporting, as news reporting, as non-commentary reporting here in the United States on corporate media. The contrast, Lewis, is impossible to miss.
Yeah, if it were a polarizing right-wing radio host or commentator in this country, they'd be talking about how Obama planted this shooter. It's all part of a big scheme. And
but even forgetting about that, much of the reporting on this, if you imagine turning on Fox News, the reporting that supposedly is not even an opinion piece would have so much more bias and hyperbole than this, which is widely recognized in Canada as, oh, this is a commentary. This is not part of the news report.
Yeah, it's fascinating. There are huge differences, and I mean, it's got to have something to do with why people here are always so afraid and worried and paranoid.
One other example from the CBC, this is Peter Mansbridge, and let's listen to this. And again, just so much that we can learn from what's going on here.
So a situation that is, as we say, tense and unclear. And it's on days like this, we keep reminding you of this, and it's important. It's on days like this where, you know, the story takes a number of different pathways, a number of changes occur, and often rumors start in a situation like this. We're trying to keep them out of our coverage, but when they come sometimes from official sources, like members of Parliament, you tend to give them some credence, but you carefully weigh it with what we're also witnessing. It's clear the situation is not over. It is clear that police are in a tense standby situation and continue to be on the lookout. And until somebody blows the all clear on this, we will continue to stay on top of it and watch as the events unfold.
Not only is it, like I said, more sober and less fear-mongering, I watched these clips and compared them to past reports as news was breaking of shootings within the United States. And what is missing in Canada in these reports, and it's a good thing that it's missing, is this anxious, frantic desire to report anything that even might be true in advance of actually knowing, either in order to be first or to maintain viewership or to titillate the audience, whatever the reason is, that is absent here in Canada. And they say, you know, we don't know a lot of these details. We're not going to speculate. We're not going to have incredible sources on to speculate. We're just going to wait, and we're going to focus on what we know.
It's pathetic that here, if something like this were to happen, you'd have to wait a few days before you could actually discover the real facts of what happened. You really can't pay attention to corporate media. They just run with any fact or any detail people tell them.